Hi there YouTube, this is the Magnus bringing you another online ladder battle in Total War Warhammer. This time I'm going to be playing as the Empire with a build I put together specifically to counter the Dwarfs. Now, are the Dwarfs a power faction that really require a special counter? Not so much, but it is important to understand, what works against different factions, and it's really going to help elevate your gameplay. The Hellstorm rocket battery here is going to be a big part of it. And as we get into the battle, we'll take a look at the composition. So I brought the Hellstorm rocket battery because generally the Dwarfs try to lay back, and this is not going to be the exception. They bring artillery and missiles. This won't be an exception to that either. So you'll see I also brought two Demigryph Knights, no halberds because they don't have large. I brought my General of the Empire. He's flying on his Griffin, an Empire Captain, actually two Empire Captains. In case they brought gyrocopter spam, which I've run into many times, and I really hate that cheese. We have I think we have three great swords, yes, and three swordsmen. And you're going to see I start firing off with the Hellstorm rocket battery here. And since he doesn't have gyrocopters, which my flying units would have eaten alive, because gyrocopters are terrible in any sort of melee combat. And also, they are not particularly quick. Now, if you try to do the same thing with Chaos, and you bring, and I know this from experience in a bad way, if you bring a hero on a Manicore, an exalted hero, or if you bring your Lord on the Chaos Dragon, it will not be able to catch the gyrocopters. So that is not an effective counter. So you need flying, but you need it to be quick, which Bretonnia can bring you quick flyers, as can the vampires. The problem with Bretonnia is their infantry, being anti-large and defensive, are not really built to take on dwarfs. So let's look at my enemy's composition. He goes with 4 organ guns, a very powerful unit, but not going to do him much good here. He brings 4 thunderers, so just a lot of damage, and a quarreler. And you'll see he brings 2 iron breakers as his main line, and then he's got Thorgrim Grudgebear. Now, what's wrong with his composition? Let's start with that. And since his name is You're a Loser, and he uses your instead of you are, we're not going to give him any credit here. First of all, nowhere near enough infantry, right? 2 iron breakers is not enough to stop an army. Way too much focus on damage. And with only organ guns, he's really limited his range, 275. So somebody's going to be able to do exactly what I do to him, which is I'm going to completely unload my Hellstorm rocket batteries on his units before I even move forward. So we'll go ahead and fast forward while that goes on, because I'm going to be raining a lot of pain down on these dwarfs. And you can see that just the volley after volley after volley, and there's just so much volume of projectiles that come out of this thing. It's really going to punish them. And basically I target his entire front line, because when I bring my guys up, I want to be able to break straight on through into these organ guns, because those and the thunderers can deal crazy amounts of damage. So you see I start cheating up a little bit, but I'm still just firing away at anything and everything here. So again, what makes this okay? So now we're advancing. He moves up his thunderers and his quarreler. A good move. He's got to get some action going here. I'm going to send my flyers in. You're going to see they're targeting his organ guns for the most part. Now, one of my Empire captains gets broken right away, and that's just because there's so much firepower here. The problem is going to be is, can he defend it? Now the iron breakers are chucking in their explosives, and having them fire those explosives off against single unit entities, not really effective, right? That's meant for going against clusters of infantry. So as you can see, he has nothing protecting his missile units, and he also is not microing them well, so they're just going to let me charge into them. He still has an organ gun, 2 organ guns that are firing away, even though one of them is being chewed on. More explosives coming in. If we move back over here, we'll see I'm wrapping up the missile units with my swordsmen and my great swords, which are going to chew right through these guys. Be sure they have high armor, but a greatsword doesn't really care about that. As you can see there. Ouch. Just a lot of dwarf weapons and shields and bodies on the ground. So all these guys are going to head up into the main engagement, where my cavalry is now participating on both flanks. You'll see them cycle charging these guys. And I also still have my flying contingent. Right now, because he's so shaken up by the cav, I figure it's a great time to focus down his lord, which I do with all of my power units, and he's trying to get back to his cannons. Nowhere near enough, and definitely not in time, and that's going to end in a very handy victory for the Empire. So we lost 93 men and completely dispatched the Dwarfs. And more importantly, virtually half of their force was dead before the battle even began. Well, 81 guys were dead before anything was swung. I got 3 XP ranks on the Hellstorm rocket battery. See, my swordsman also got some level ups. The Demogryph Knights were great. My Empire captains in general, the Empire did what they needed to do. And you can see, I mean, I have enough health, I could go fight them again. Fight another entire army. So this is an unusual build by my opponent, but it doesn't really matter. With the Hellstorm rocket battery, I'm going to have the range advantage unless you bring a bunch of cannons or something. And if that's the case, you're not going to be able to afford much infantry, which means my cavalry is going to do great. It also means you're not going to be able to afford gyrocopters, which means my general of the Empire and my 2 Empire captains are going to be able to get right into your artillery. So it's really just, this build, it counters everything the Dwarfs can do. Alright, so they've got tough, tanky infantry. The great swords are going to cut through it. Okay, you bring gyrocopters, my flyers will murder them before they even have a result. Let's say they have a good, solid composition. Well, good luck stopping the Demogryph Knights from getting into you because you have no mobility. And so it's just, it's virtually impossible for a dwarf player, unless they have extremely great micro, a fantastic composition, great terrain. I don't play well. You know, there has to be so many factors that have to go in the dwarf's favor to win this that, sorry about that, it's simply just not realistic. So if you're having trouble with the dwarfs, or you just feel like bashing your friend's head in when he plays stunties, this is the army for you. I hope you enjoyed the battle. Lots of explosions. I hope you learned something. Either way, please like, please subscribe. I'm going to be coming out with my dwarf competitive faction focus pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I'll be back soon, and until then, thanks and take care.